and it's absolutely amazing. But when we have a look back there, there's a waterfall coming out of a cave.
When we're sober, we're so afraid of getting bored when we're sober. It's a different life when it's over.
Hi my friends, nice to see you. Today I'm here in the area of Salzburg and I'm going to check out the waterfall here. I wanted to come here already for some time, but there was always anything else to photograph. And in the last week we had thunderstorms each day. So if you have seen my last video, you know that I accidentally came straight into the center of a thunderstorm. Today I'm sure we will get no thunderstorm. It rained a little bit in the morning, and in the moment it also looks a little bit after it could start to rain again, but I'm not 100% sure about. Doesn't really matter all too much, to be honest. When I'm out for waterfall photography, rain even could add to the composition. Depends on the composition, obviously. But however, let's go to the waterfall. So as you have seen already, I'm already here at the waterfall and it's absolutely amazing. But when we have a look back there, there's a waterfall coming out of a cave. I'm not sure if you can see this. Let me clean you so that you can see anything. I forgot my clothes back there. I hope you're able to see anything here. The only problem here is we have a second waterfall straight beside us and it's really absolutely difficult to get a photograph here. So as you can see, the lens is getting wet immediately. After 2 seconds it is wet, and I fear we have a little bit too much water today. I realized this when I came here, when I had a look down into the brooks. They were too high, the water level was too high. So I think this spot here were interesting when we had a little bit less water. This is not so good, to be honest, but what I could try is, there's a platform up there. I'm not sure, I'm not the biggest fan of photographing from platforms, but I feel this is the only possibility here today. So I will go up there, then maybe we would have a sight into the cave. I'm not sure if it's possible to get a photograph there, but however, let's try for it.
We're so afraid of getting bored when we're sober. It's a different life when it's over. Don't feel attached to anyone when I'm sober. It's someone else.
So I came already up here to this platform. As already mentioned, I'm not the biggest friend of artificial platforms, but in this case it's the only possibility today, to be honest. Before we were down there and now I came here. I thought it were a shorter way that I can go over here anyway, but I had to go out far away there, but doesn't matter. However, I'm here now, and to be honest, the better composition had been at the side where we had been before, but as already mentioned, we are too close to the waterfall, as you can see there, and there's so much spray in the air. It's absolutely impossible to get a photograph there today. So if there is less water in future, I definitely want to come back and look for another composition down there to these twin waterfalls there. They look absolutely brilliant, absolutely amazing. They come out straight from the mountain face. It's absolutely crazy. I found a really simple composition, and it's definitely not a world-class shot, but however, I'm here now and this is the only possibility today for getting a photograph. I want to take a photograph of the right waterfall there, which comes out from the cave there and splashes down. So it's a simple shot, as already mentioned, but however, I will take the photograph now and then I will come back another day. I use a circular polarizer here. It makes a subtle difference here. You get a little bit more contrast and saturation out of the rocks there, which are all wet in the moment. As already mentioned, it rained in the morning, and so it looks a little bit better. I choose by shutter speed what gives me nice patterns in the water. So there's nothing more to explain, I think. Let's make the click. And I would need a third hand now. I have my clothes here in my camera, but I have to be fast because we have so much spray in the air. So So I'm already back in my office, as you can see obviously, and when I processed my image, I realized that it's not that common kind of composition I usually build up. And so I thought it were maybe interesting for you to understand why it works anyway, because yeah, I'm really happy with this photograph. It's a little bit soft in the bottom, but this is caused by the spray we had in the air. But for me, it definitely works as an image. And the interesting thing is, I saw the composition immediately, although it's an absolutely unusual composition. So how could this be? So maybe you know from my website or also from some of my previous videos that I come from a family of artists, and also the way how I came into photography was over art. And so painting is really very similar to photography, and so I knew already about all the rules in photography before I held my first camera in my hands. And in painting there exist different architectures for composition, but not all work for photography, and this is a reason. Just let me show you 3 examples here. In this photograph, for instance, I used a big center object. So this illuminated rock here, what is our subject with this water coming down here, is our big center object. This is also often used in painting, or when we have a look at this photograph, so here I used an S-shape architecture. So the waterline leads us back in an S-curve back to the big waterfall here in the distance. And very similar to that is the zigzag architecture. The only difference here is the movement of the ice back there is not as smooth as it is with the S-curve architecture. So the ice jump from one point to the other. So these are only 3 examples, which you also maybe know already in photography, but there exists other types of architecture in painting, and as I already mentioned, not all of them also work in photography. And the reason therefore is, photography was invented in the 19th century, and with the invention of photography, the artists started to realize the 3 dimensions which we have in our world. And so when you have a look at the paintings of the 17th or 18th century, they didn't use vanishing lines. And the reason therefore is, I think maybe they haven't known about it. So with the invention of the camera, of the photography, they realized how a camera translates the 3-dimensional world into a 2-dimensional paper or canvas or whatever. And so they started their painterly style with 3 dimensions. And some of the rules back then disappeared. And so, for example, a really powerful kind of composition, the L-shaped architecture. And when you have a look at my photograph, the thing what I missed when I built up the composition was depth. And usually I always try to get depth into my photographs because I know it gives this kind of plasticity, the feeling that you can walk into the photograph. And this is definitely missing here, but anyway, it's a really fantastic photograph. And I want to be honest with you, usually I wouldn't have taken a photograph like this. I just did it because, yeah, I didn't have any other possibility to take a photograph there. The water level was too high. And so the idea of the L-shaped architecture is that the eyes follow the L and go back and again and again and again, and you stay really long in the picture. So this is really powerful and it really works here. And I think it only works because there is depth missing in the photograph, and this is really fantastic. And so finally I didn't invent a new kind of composition, but let's say at least I woke up a really old one for photography. And maybe if you ever should have the situation that you don't have the possibility to get depth into your photograph, maybe you could think about it, try to find an L shape for your composition, and I cross my fingers for you that it will also work as well as it did here for my photograph. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, please give me a thumb up, share this video with your friends, maybe on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. I were really happy about, and it would help me to grow this channel. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't have already. So thank you so much for watching. See you next Saturday. Thank you. Bye.